Hey, how's it going? This is Melinda and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking to you about the best sounding classic rock records in my collection. I am talking about specific pressings of these records. I'll tell you who mastered them, what year they came out, and try to give you as many details as I can. And I'm not saying these are the definitive records to own. I'm just saying for what I have in my collection, these records sound incredible and they're very respectable versions of these albums. So I want to have that discussion with you, and you leave your comments below and let me know what records in your collection are the best sounding in your opinion. This is just my opinion. This is just my stereo equipment. And like I said, I don't have every copy of every record ever made. So I just have to go by what I have and what I think sounds great. So if you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell. Everything you do helps my channel to grow. I am going to be talking about the 10 records in no particular order that I think sound amazing. And then at the very end, I am going to show you the best sounding classic rock record that I own. It is a killer sounding record, and I would highly recommend you find it if you want to have a great sounding pressing of that record. So stay tuned for that. And also, if you see behind me, this is the Robert Ludwig hot mix by, it's the Led Zeppelin 2 record, as well as Dark Side of the Moon. This is the 30th anniversary copy. They are great sounding records. I would definitely add these into the mix. I've just talked about those records so much in my channel that I wanted to move on to some other things. So let's get started. We've got Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. And this is what I call the Torpedoes album. So wonderful. And this is the 2017 reissue using the ORG music plates, mastered by Chris Bellman. Fantastic. Just from the very get-go when Refugee kicks in, we've got a huge sound stage. It's well balanced. It's killer. And also on Here Comes My Girl, one of my favorite songs by Tom Petty, the guitar playing is superb and it really comes to life on this version. I just really love it. Now, I've never heard the original. I don't have the CBS half-speed mastered version. I'd be very curious to hear that one. But I've just never felt a need to listen to another version of it, or to buy one anyway. I think this one is superb. And while you're at it, if you're looking for Full Moon Fever, do not hesitate. If you run into the Chris Bellman mastered version of it, get it. It sounds killer too. And a good way to be able to tell what you have, if you're out record shopping, have the Discogs app on your phone, and you can scan barcodes and know instantly what copy is in that store that you have. That's a great way to tell what you got in your hand and make a decision whether you want to buy it or not. So I highly recommend having the Discogs app and just being able to scan from your phone what the if it has a barcode, what it is. So now, number 2, and again, I'm not saying this is in particular order. I just wanted to talk about them in this order. I'm going to talk about Pink Floyd's The Wall. My particular copy is the US first pressing. And yeah, the UK first pressing would be very cool to have. I just don't have it. And this is just a great sounding copy. The first pressings do not have the band's names in here, just some of the credits, but doesn't have the band's names listed on here. But it's a great sounding first pressing. Literally, when I hear this one, I feel like a plane is getting ready to crash into my home. It just blows me away. From what I can tell, the mastering engineer is James Guthrie on here. If I'm wrong, leave it in the comments. I want to get it right. Unbelievable sounding. Is the UK version better? Probably. But to my ears, this first pressing is so superb that if you ever see a US pressing, don't hesitate to pick it up. Absolutely incredible. Now, here's another one I want to talk about at number 3. It's a really weird one. You know, I'm going to have in here first pressings, reissues, 45 RPM records, talk about different labels. It's all going to be in here. This one is probably the weirdest one I'm going to be talking about. It's almost like a hybrid. I don't know. I don't know what this is, but it is the debut album of Led Zeppelin. And I picked this particular copy up. I made a video last year where I just went into an antique store and every record was $8. I found the Stone Temple Pilots original album, Purple. This one was $8. I grabbed it too. A very clean copy of Led Zeppelin's debut album. I got it home and I'm like, golly, this thing sounds killer. It's incredible. I already had this gold record version on thick vinyl from 1969. This 1977 version on really thin vinyl blew it away. I thought, what in the world is going on? So I did a little research into what I had. And this one was pressed as Specialty Records by Side 1. This is the weird part, okay? Side 1 is pressed by George Piros. Unbelievable. Side 2 is pressed by Dennis King. Believe it or not, it's very cohesive. Two different mastering engineers, but one great sound. And this album is probably my third favorite of the Led Zeppelin albums. Bluesy, hard rock, killer guitars, Robert Plant's on fire, and of course John Bonham. Oh my gosh, the drums. It's a 1977 pressing and it blows my socks off. So that's probably one of the weirder versions of an album, mixed mastering, but it is an incredible sounding record. If you ever see that one, and you can tell in the dead wax that it's George Piro on one side, Dis King on the other, very, very obvious. It's a great sounding record and I highly recommend it. So at number 4, this was a reissue, Mott The Hoople. This one came out in 2014 by Drastic Plastic record label. I don't know how many records they put out there. This is a very limited pressing, 1,000 copies. My copy, let me pull out the record here, is number 942 out of 1,000. Not an easy one to find, but not an expensive one when you find it. And yet, I think it sounds killer. It is mastered by Kevin Gray. So, guitars on here are terrific. Wonderful records. My favorite song on here, honestly, is the opening track, Sweet Jane. So killer, but a lot of great stuff on here. So, I highly recommend if you ever run into this one. It's hard to find, but it is a killer sounding record, and I love it. Mott The Hoople is one of those bands that are probably really underappreciated. So, at number 5, let me move on to Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. This is an incredible copy of this record. There's a lot of choices you can have. You could pick up the mobile fidelity version. A US first pressing would be super sweet, and what I hear is probably the best sounding version of it. There's a new one and a huge box set that just recently came out. But for me, this one is a killer one. I don't need anything else. It's a 2013 reissue that I found for $8 at a Second and Charles soft opening. And I've just never needed another copy. Sounds so killer. Pressed at Palace, cut by Bernie Grundman. They use some of the metal parts from the 2009 ORG music pressing. Unbelievable sounding record to me. Now, you can tell me in the comments below what version you have and what you think of it. There's probably a lot of great sounding versions of this. I would say the US first pressing is the best. I've heard the Record Club pressing isn't as good. But either way, this is a killer record and it sounds incredible. And I highly recommend, if you find the 2013 reissue, to grab it. Mastered by Bernie Grundman. This next artist, it just doesn't get any better. I am so happy to add this wonderful artist in on this top 10 because he's so underappreciated. And what happened to him is so undeserved. He ruled the 80s, you guys. He was killer. Talking about Billy Squire. And this album is Don't Say No. And this is the 2018 version taken by the Analog Tapes. mastered by Kevin Gray. This is the Intervention Records label version of this record. And I've had a first pressing, I've had a really great Japanese pressing, but this one takes the cake, you guys. It is so fantastic. I remember when I first heard it, it was just so different sounding to me that it blew me away. I'm like, what am I listening to? When I heard that first opening, when it comes in, wow. The more I listened to this, I was like, yes, yes, Billy Squire deserves to have the royal treatment. This is a Stoughton album cover, so it's just a beautiful album cover, great record. He got the royal treatment and he deserves it. Let's talk about his little video of Rock Me Tonight. Big whoop. Yeah, he was dancing kind of funny. I remember the first time I saw that video. I was at a friend's house at a sleepover, and she had a really big canopy bed. We were laying in it watching her little bitty TV for Friday night videos, and we saw him dancing around and Rock Me Tonight. And I remember thinking, I kind of like the videos where he's just playing his guitar better. But I'll tell you what, my friend was all into his dancing. She thought he was hot. She loved it. And that's what they were going for with that video. Most of us didn't really fall for that, but who cares? I really wish things would have worked out a little bit better for him. And he's still respected. He's still killer. And you guys, this is, I think, the definitive copy of Don't Say No. And it's a fantastic record. If you've never heard it, give it a listen. So many great songs on this album, and it just punches you in the face. The Intervention Records version of that record, it kills. It, as of today, to me, is the definitive copy of that record, and no one deserves that more than Billy Squire. So at number 7, how could I not talk about the best sounding classic rock albums and not talk about Van Halen? You all know they are my favorite band. Sentimental, but you know what? I can also argue about the greatness of Van Halen and what a great guitar player Eddie Van Halen was. So, first off, I'm going to say something that's going to be really controversial to y'all. Y'all are going to roll your eyes and leave the comments. Let me have it. I can take it. It's fine. But I'm just talking about what I hear with my own ears on my own stereo equipment, okay? First off, this is the 2009 reissue, sourced from the DCC Stampers, mastered by Kevin Gray and Steve Hoffman. We are talking about legends in the field, you guys. Legends in the field. I was so eager to have this record that I realized my daughter had it in her collection, and I traded my first pressing, the original, to have this one. And it's fine. It's good. It's a little flat to me. Here's what I really prefer. Y'all are going to die. You're going to roll your eyes. You're not going to believe this, but I actually prefer the 1978 Japanese copy of this. A lot of you would probably say, no, it's way too bright. To me, that 2009 reissue is a little flat. So I like this one better. I think the sound stage is bigger. I think Dave sounds better. You know what? The bass, if you want to test the bass, play Running with the Devil on this Japanese version, and you'll think, no, the bass is there. It's killer. So, you guys, it's so crazy. But I think this Japanese 1978 version for my collection is killer. I love the way it sounds. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Having said that, I am hoping and praying that this becomes my second favorite because, of course, Mobile Fidelity is coming out with their 45 RPM version of this record. I can't wait. I can't wait. I hope it just blows every other version away because I love Van Halen and I want to have the best sounding versions of their albums as possible. So now that I've said that and kind of probably made a few people mad, let's talk about number 8. And this is another one that's going to get you guys because it is Guns N' Roses. It is the 2018 reissue. It was taken for the first time by the analog tapes and put on 2 LPs, which I think really helps this album and makes it sound better. They took the music from the analog tapes, but they made it into a high res digital sourcing. It was done by Ryan K. Smith at Sterling Sound, but I'm going to stand behind this. It's a digital source done right. They did a great job. And I don't think you're going to find a better sounding version of this classic album. Unbelievable sounding, blows your mind, melts your face, huge sound stage, punches you with wonderful guitar playing, tremendous drums, Axl Rose singing those amazing lyrics, and wow. This is just a wow. Sometimes digital sourcing can sound incredible. This is a perfect example of that. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know that's kind of a controversial comment, and I normally would never say that. I am an analog girl, so just know that. I love analog sourcing, and I prefer it. When I see digital sourcing, I kind of stay away. But with this one, 2018 reissue, don't look back. It is a killer sounding copy of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Now, at number 9, I'm pushing 2 records because they're by the same artist and by the same label. So let's just go ahead and show these. Analog Productions, Second Helping. Such a killer one. It's 45 RPM, so it does have that advantage. And both of these records I'm going to show have different mastering, so I want to make sure I get this correct. This is Second Helping, mastered by Kevin Gray. And I had a guy come to my house a couple of months ago. He interviewed me for the local paper about my vinyl collection, my passion for vinyl. I put this record on for him, and he listened to Sweet Home Alabama. And it kind of comes in layers, that first song. First, we get a little bit of a guitar riff. A little more comes in, a little more comes in. It builds and builds. And every time he heard something come in, he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He really got into it as well. And he's an amateur vinyl collector. He's new. I don't want to say amateur, but he's new to it. And he just loved what he heard. And it's a fantastic sounding version of that. Also, pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd, another killer record. This is a 45 RPM as well. It's Analog Productions as well. This particular one is mastered by Ryan Smith. It is a killer sounding pressing. Simple Man soars on that. That's my favorite song by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So that was important to me, that it would sound amazing, and it delivers so good. I will say also, though, that if you cannot get that Analog Productions version, another one that is really cool, Lynyrd Skynyrd. This is the Music on Vinyl 2011 reissue. And the Analog Productions one soars a little more on Simple Man for me. Freebird is really great. And I will say that the guitar playing, that's huge solo that's done on Freebird, more of the details are on the Analog Productions version. But we were listening to this, my husband and I. He actually thinks this one is more natural sounding, and he preferred this one. I prefer Analog Productions. He prefers Music on Vinyl. I think they're both fantastic. So there's that. Okay, so at number 10. Now, a lot of y'all would say, no, this is like alternative wave, different. I call this a classic rock album. The Cars, and this is the Mobile Fidelity original master recording version of their debut album. Killer sounding record. It just is so amazing, you guys. The guitars of My Best Friend's Girl, just what I needed. So killer on here. Moving in stereo will blow your mind. So good. This is an incredible sounding version. The remastering engineer is Sean R. Britton or Brighton. I don't want to mispronounce, so I'm going to say both. Unbelievable sounding. Preston RTI. I'm telling you guys, any of these Cars albums sound incredible by Mobile Fidelity, but the original debut album, you just can't beat it. Music-wise, the way this one sounds, unbelievably great. So that was my number 10. But now I am at the best sounding version of a classic rock album that I own. This is the definitive copy for me. The original's good too, though. I'm not going to say it's not. It is. It's great. But my goodness, this one is the best sounding classic rock record in my collection. So, you know what I got to do here. You guys bear with me. Drum roll. The best sounding classic rock record in my collection is Ted Nugent. This is the Analog Productions 45 RPM version of this killer record. Mind-blowing. This will blow your mind, melt your brain. Unbelievable. Let's talk about the incredible guitar playing of Ted Nugent and the sexy vocals of Derek St. Holmes. Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. I mean, it's just such a killer song. Stranglehold is on here anyway, and it just never sounded better. The original's good, but you guys, you've never heard Stranglehold until you hear this particular version. The whole album is so fantastic, and it's just congratulations, Analog Productions. You nailed it. Fantastic. You've never heard the guitar playing like you hear on this version of this record. The atmospheric, the airy quality it has, the sexy, breathy vocals of Derek St. Holmes. And I mean, it'll take your breath away. It will blow your mind. So those are the best sounding classic rock records in my collection. That's my collection. I'm not saying they're the definitive copies. That's where you come in. I have some of the most amazing viewers who leave tremendous comments. I learn from you, and leave your comments below. What records blow your mind in your classic rock collection? That's really what I want to hear. Thank you so much for watching. And if I get 3 views on this channel or 1,000, this was a lot of fun. Great research. And I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.